This is the local news leader, WDHN News at 10.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for WDHN News at 10 o'clock, the election night edition. Well, we begin tonight with obviously election day coverage. Let's go live to Brantley, Weatherford, and Hartford, I believe, at the victorious Barry Moore's campaign party. Good evening, Brantley.
Good evening, I'm Brantley Weatherford with WDHN News. I'm at Ketchum's in Hartford, Alabama, and I'm here with 2nd District winner Barry Moore with his victory in just a few minutes.
Congress worked a miracle. This was truly a David and Goliath. We spent maybe $300,000 or $400,000 on our race, and they spent $2 or $3 million. But like I said, improbabilities or possibilities when God's involved.
We'll have more from Barry Moore coming up in just a few minutes, so please stick around. Paige?
Thanks so much. Well, we're joined now by political analyst Dr. Michael Gubrennan, and the race for that 2nd congressional Republican nomination has been very competitive. And Dr. Gubrennan, basically, if you can kind of wrap up as far as this major surprise as far as Barry Moore defeating Jeff Coleman, and Coleman outspent Moore at least 3-1.
Yeah, absolutely true. It is a surprise. I think that it partially shows Trump's influence on the election. Even though Coleman had the support of Roby, she was at times a critic of Trump, which may have hurt Coleman in the end.
That's an important point, that perhaps Martha Roby was not that popular in the district, and maybe a possibility why she didn't run for a 5th term.
Yes, absolutely. I think that is certainly a factor.
All right. Well, how about as far as basically the question of the senatorial candidate? We have Tommy Tuberville, the former Auburn head football coach, defeating Jeff Sessions for a seat that Sessions used to have. Any surprise there?
I think that was certainly expected. Sessions had trailed in the polls. Again, I think that shows the influence of Trump. Trump's been extremely critical of Sessions since he left.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Gubrennan. Well, let's now go live to Ileana Capian in Dothan, her Jeff Coleman's election watch party. She's been there all evening. Good evening, Ileana.
Hi guys, I am here at the Coleman campaign headquarters where unfortunately, the vibe is a little different now. Coleman did concede after the votes were counted and reported to both campaigns. He had some things to say, and this is what he said.
This is whether you win or lose, and I think you've got to look at this. This is a good lesson for all people. This is not all about winning and victory. You've got to be gracious in your loss, and I think there's going to be a lot of lessons learned, and we're going to continue to pray to God and understand and discern the process on what doors are open for me and my family.
Coleman did concede after the numbers were officially counted and reported to the campaigns. The candidates were neck and neck for a while, but Moore ended up coming out on top. The race was close, 40 to 60%. Coleman says he did call Moore to congratulate him, and his family continues to support him through this time, just the same way that they supported him through this campaign process. I'm here again at the Coleman campaign headquarters. This is your local election headquarters. I'm Ileana Capian reporting for WDHN News.
Let's now go to Paige Weeks. She's been in the newsroom all night for a look at the election night numbers at this time. Paige, back to you.
All right, Mike, thank you very much. Let's go ahead and take a look at the latest numbers, you guys. Let's pull them up. We've got Tommy Tuberville. Oh, well, let's do Jeff Coleman and Barry Moore first, since that's who we're talking about. Obviously, Barry Moore did win. Now, this was surprising because Coleman, we assumed that he was going to win in this race. He had many endorsements from other other people here in the Wiregrass. But as the night went on, Barry Moore began passing Coleman with the votes and kept that speed up all throughout the night. We were surprised when 8:50 rolled around and we learned that Jeff Coleman was going to concede to Moore, and he did. We were there live for that. You can see that on Facebook. But Barry Moore 60% there, Jeff Coleman 40%. That's 99% of the precincts reporting. Let's see, do we have any other numbers coming up? Here we go. Here's Tuberville and Jeff Sessions. They're 61% of votes versus 39% for Sessions. This not as surprising because, as a lot of us know, Tommy Tuberville did get endorsed by President Trump, whereas Jeff Sessions has struggled to gain support due to President Trump not giving his endorsement to that campaign. So that one not as surprising as the Coleman and Moore race, but there you have the winners there. The Associated Press has called both of those elections. So for the latest numbers, you can go to WDHN's website, dothanfirst.com. Check our Facebook. We have all the interviews and speeches that all the campaign candidates have given throughout the night. Mike, back to you.
All right, Paige, very good job all evening long keeping track of all those numbers from these two hotly contested races for U.S. Congress and the Senate, and drew out voters really from across the Wiregrass. In Houston County, well, these would be the folks that would cast ballots at Westgate Recreation Center, as well as the Dothan First Assembly of God. There has been a concern by many state and local election officials about voter turnout because of the current COVID-19 pandemic. However, political analyst Steve Flowers tells WDHN that Houston County has led the state in turnout. He believes Houston County, they will record about 20% of their registered Republican voters as far as the turnout, where other counties had single-digit turnouts. Coffee County probate judge Jody Thompson says state election officials believe less than 20% of the registered voters will have casted a ballot in Coffee County today. Coffee County's numbers will be a lot better, though. There are nearly 36,000 registered voters there. The judge credited the efforts of the poll workers for their dedication in helping turn out that vote.
Now I realize how much work actually goes into it. Luckily, Coffee County has an outstanding staff that works. They start working months before. The poll workers have to be trained. Again, because of the distance and time between the last election and this one, you would not imagine the work that goes in and the hours that are spent.
Cautions in place at each of Coffee County's 29 precincts. Judge Thompson says things went extremely well. In Geneva, a voting house consolidation plan has gone out without a hitch. The First Baptist Church of Geneva's Life Center considered a community voting facility for the very first time. It's a combined precinct of several voting houses, which includes the courthouse and armory. Geneva County Board of Registrar personnel says it reduces the number of poll workers needed and also reduces the printing of ballots. But most of all, it saves on time.
4 precincts that have combined into one polling place, so it will be just one tabulation. It saves on ballots that we have to order, and it also saves on poll workers, and it saves on renting the machine. So it's overall, it's a big money savings, a big financial savings.
And folks, let's go back to Hartford, where the winning candidate for Congress as far as the Republican nomination is concerned, Barry Moore. And with us, we have WDHN's Brantley Weatherford live from Ketchum's Restaurant. Brantley?
Good evening, Paige. I'm with the winner, Barry Moore. And Barry, you know, it must feel real good to be a victory.
It does. You know, it's one of those things where I don't think it's completely set in yet, but obviously our team, we're so excited. We're happy to be here, and it's one of those things that, yeah, it's really a neat feeling to see the work. For me, it was more for our workers and the grassroots people, the people who just got out and worked in this hot sun every day, knocking doors, putting up signs. And for me, it's a big victory for them, and obviously a humbling experience for me.
You know, back in March, everybody thought it was Coleman's race. They thought, I don't see how anybody else could win. But you've turned that around. You had, I believe, 10,000 more votes than him. What work did you put in to get there?
Well, I tell everybody it's kind of the David and Goliath story, but we you know, just grassroots and live events and serving people during the shutdown. And then, you know, the 38% that he had coming out was with a couple of $1 million spent, and there were 7 people. Once we narrowed the field and we had an opportunity for people to find out who Barry Moore was, was and what we were about. I think that allowed us to pick up a lot of the undecideds, a lot of the people who were in other camps. They came on board, and so I think the key to it was just us working very hard, getting our message out, and having a track record we're proud of.
And you know, the general election is coming up in November. What's your plan moving forward for that?
Well, you know, we're going to do some interviews tomorrow and things like that, take a week off, and then we'll be back and begin to do the same thing we've always done, just reach out to the people, campaign around the district, be available if people want to see us and talk with us. And so, you know, it's one of those things that we're going to be out and about and run just like we have, you know, like we're 2 touchdowns down.
All right, Barry. Well, good luck to you.
Thank you.
Paige, back to you.
Apparently, but anyway, good job and congratulations, Barry Moore. Today, a bipartisan group of Alabama senators presented their plan for reopening schools to the state school superintendent. Governor Ivey invited Republican senators Bobby Singleton, Jim McClendon, and Jabo Wagner to the state school board. The senators say the plan released by the State Department of Education doesn't go far enough. The senator's plan calls for more than 300 nurses, isolation rooms at schools, and temperature screenings. They also expressed concern of not having enough COVID-19 testing kits for college students.
We're going to have kids coming back in from our 2-year and 4-year colleges from other states. We're going to spend $36 million testing other states' children when we don't even want to make sure that we have a plan to test our own children.
And the next step would be for the state superintendent to approve or disapprove the senator's plans. We're not sure yet on what will happen there. State Representative Donald Johnson died this afternoon of complications from liver cancer. He was 76 years old. Johnson held a District 33 seat that includes portions of Clay, Coosa, and Talladega counties. Originally elected as a Democrat, Johnson switched to the Republican Party in 1998. He is survived by his wife Susan and his daughter Stephanie Lee. State law requires Governor Kay Ivey to call a special election to fill that vacancy. Coming up tonight on 10 o'clock, WDHN News, a big win for former Auburn head football coach Tommy Tuberville tonight. Not on the gridiron, but in the political arena. But for now, let's check in with meteorologist Matthew Wine. Matthew, what is that weather doing this evening?
Well, Mike, we've had plenty of storms earlier on today, some quite strong, especially in Geneva and Houston counties. We have a few more out there right now on Storm Tracker radar in Barber County. And we're going to have that full forecast right when we come back.
Okay. 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 Matthew is stupefied. Welcome back, folks. Well, the hotly contested race for the Republican runoff between Tommy Tuberville, former Auburn head football coach, and former U.S. Senator Jeff Sessions, it was a landslide. You know, you may either like President Trump or you may not like President Trump, but one thing is for sure, his coattails run deep in the state of Alabama because President Trump went behind Tuberville for this campaign, heavily endorsed him, and you can see the results on your screen right now. Not even a contest. Tommy Tuberville wins big time, 61% to 39%, and that's with 93% of the precincts reporting. That's 93% of the 67 counties. Let's now go to a soundbite in regard to, well, Republican candidate for U.S. Senate, Tommy Tuberville, in his victory speech at Auburn tonight.
We need a senator that believes in our values. It's our mission, it's our movement, it's our moment to reclaim Alabama's Senate seat from Biden, Schumer, and Pelosi and put it firmly back in the conservative column.
And that was from the victory speech in Auburn. Tommy Tuberville, of course, will face Doug Jones, the incumbent Democrat, for the U.S. Senate seat come this November.